The doorbell rang. A lonely, trembling sound that echoed through the marble corridors of the grand estate, like a heartbeat pleading to be heard. Outside stood a woman whose hollow eyes carried the weight of 1,000 silent cries. In her frail arms, a little girl clung tightly, like a withered leaf refusing to let go in the storm. Her cardigan was worn thin, her skirt frayed at the edges, and her face told the story of someone who had walked not only miles, but memories. Through battles, regrets, and sleepless nights. She didn't ask for money. She didn't beg for pity. Her voice, fragile as cracked porcelain, simply whispered, "Can I clean your house for a plate of food?" Inside, the man who opened the door, one of the city's most powerful figures, froze. His hand slipped from the handle. His breath caught halfway. Because this wasn't a stranger. This was her. The woman he had once failed. If you believe in compassion, redemption, and the quiet power of humanity, take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Limitless Truth. These stories aren't just entertainment. They're reminders of the goodness that still beats quietly in this world. Her name was Alina. Years ago, she was laughter itself. Full of dreams, faith, and the kind of light that believed kindness always came back around. But life doesn't always return what we give. She had married young. To a man who promised the stars but delivered only scars. He left her with a child and a hospital bill she could never pay. One by one, her supports vanished. Her job, her home, her friends. Even kindness seemed to fade when her need became constant. Nights were spent on a church bench, her little girl asleep in her arms as she whispered fairy tales into the darkness. Stories meant to drown out the rumble of hunger. Every morning, she walked through rich neighborhoods, hoping someone might offer a sandwich, a jacket, or even a smile. Most doors stayed closed. Some offered polite refusals, but that morning felt different. Something, call it desperation, faith, or destiny, led her to that house. It was a mansion too pristine for her worn shoes to touch. Still, hunger doesn't respect boundaries. Inside, Liam Whitmore, fresh from a board meeting that secured a $20 million deal, was hailed as a visionary. Though most knew him as ruthless, yet behind the success and the sharp suits, he was a man who rarely looked back. Until that knock. When he saw her standing there, the world seemed to fold in on itself. Time slowed. Memories stirred. Before the marble floors and magazine covers, he had known her. She was the quiet girl behind him at a college food drive, carefully counting coins to pay for instant noodles. The girl who smiled at him in the library during rainy afternoons, when both were broke but filled with purpose. He remembered, too, the night he saw her outside a diner, being screamed at by her boyfriend. He could have stepped in. He should have. But he turned away. Now, that regret stared him in the eyes. He stepped aside and let her in. The grand foyer, once filled with silence, now echoed with hesitant footsteps. The sound of dignity walking through despair. Elena apologized for intruding, her voice trembling as if hunger itself were shameful. But Liam's thoughts drifted between the man he became and the one he once was. He brought food, placing it gently before the little girl first. Elena hesitated, eyes shimmering, torn between pride and need. Pride, it's a strange kind of hunger. As they ate, fragments of her story unfolded. The abusive marriage, the nights in bus stations, the shelter that closed when funding disappeared. Yet she never blamed anyone. It's just what happened, she said softly. Her strength whispered louder than her sorrow. The next morning, Liam did something he hadn't done in years. He canceled every meeting. In the guest room, he laid out clean clothes, a toothbrush, and a small handwritten note. Stay as long as you need. When Elena read it, tears slipped silently down her cheeks. It wasn't just kindness. It was recognition. It was dignity. But healing takes time. Trust doesn't bloom overnight. Elena wrestled with guilt for accepting help, fearing it came with conditions. Liam wrestled with guilt of his own. Guilt for having climbed so high while others fell unseen. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, conversation replaced silence. Elena began helping around the house. Not out of obligation, but to feel useful again. She cleaned, cooked small meals, and filled the empty spaces with quiet gratitude. Her daughter began to laugh again. chasing sunlight in the garden, playing the piano that had long sat untouched. The sound of joy returned to a house that had forgotten what warmth felt like. One evening, Liam came home from a charity event and found Alina sketching by the window, drawing a small garden design. He learned she had once studied architecture before life took everything from her. He encouraged her to draw again. She hesitated, but soon her sketches covered his office walls. A visiting hotel owner noticed her designs and asked who created them. Liam proudly said, "Alana." That recognition led to her first freelance job. Then another. Within a year, she had her own small design business, running it from the laptop Liam had gifted her on her birthday. Then came the moment that changed everything. On a cold December morning, Alina approached Liam, clutching an envelope. She had saved enough to rent a small apartment. "You've done more than I can ever repay," she whispered. Liam took the envelope, but didn't open it. Instead, he led her and her daughter to the front of the estate. There, a new sign had been placed. Whitmore Foundation for Women and Children. It was Alina's idea. A sanctuary for mothers who had lost everything except their will to keep going. A place where no one would ever again have to beg for food, in exchange for dignity. As the morning sun touched the sign, the little girl tugged at Liam's sleeve and asked softly, "Are you going to be our family now?" Liam knelt down, eyes glistening. "I already am." If this story moved your heart, if it reminded you that one act of compassion can ripple across a lifetime, please like this video, share it with someone who needs faith today, and subscribe to Limitless Truth. We don't just tell stories here. We remind the world that empathy is still alive. Before you go, leave a comment, even just a heart emoji, or a few kind words. You never know, your message might be the light someone else needs tonight.